Freedom. It's a word that resonates deeply within the human spirit, a foundational ideal championed by revolutions and enshrined in constitutions. We yearn to be free, free from oppression, free to choose, free to express ourselves. Yet, as our world becomes increasingly interconnected, as our actions reverberate globally and our digital footprints expand endlessly, the very concept of individual liberty finds itself in a profound paradox. The lines that once defined our freedom, personal space, privacy, individual consequence, seem to blur and shift. How much personal liberty can we truly claim in a world where every choice, every utterance, every interaction has a ripple effect on others, often far beyond our immediate sight? This isn't merely a legal or political debate. It's a deep, philosophical tension. Where does my freedom end and yours begin? What responsibilities accompany our newfound liberties in a hyper-connected age? And how do we redraw the lines of liberty to foster a just, equitable, and sustainable future without stifling the human spirit? The pursuit of freedom is as old as philosophy itself. From ancient Greek city-states debating democracy to Enlightenment thinkers challenging absolute monarchies, the question of how individuals can live freely within a society has been central. John Locke, a foundational Enlightenment philosopher, argued for natural rights, life, liberty, and property inherent to every individual. Given by nature or God, he believed that governments derive their legitimacy from the consent of the governed and exist primarily to protect these individual liberties. His ideas heavily influenced modern democracies and the very notion of individual freedom. Later, John Stuart Mill, in his seminal work on liberty, proposed the harm principle, the only purpose for which power can be rightfully exercised over any member of a civilized community against. His will is to prevent harm to others. For Mill, if an action harms no one else, society has no legitimate right to interfere. This principle became a cornerstone of liberal thought, emphasizing individual autonomy and freedom from coercion. These thinkers laid the groundwork for our modern understanding of freedom, a space where individuals can act, think, and express themselves without undue interference. It's a powerful and essential ideal. However, their contexts were vastly different from ours. They lived in worlds where the impact of an individual's actions was often localized, and information traveled slowly. Today, the harm Mill spoke of can travel at the speed of light, affecting millions instantaneously. My seemingly private online actions can have far-reaching public consequences. This raises the critical question: does the harm principle, conceived in a less interconnected era, still fully apply today? Our modern world is an intricate web of interdependencies. Global supply chains mean our consumption habits affect distant labor practices and environments. Digital platforms mean our words, even in a private chat, can be screenshot and weaponized, causing reputational damage or even real-world violence. Public health crises remind us that one person's choices directly impact the health and safety of an entire community. Consider the tension between freedom of speech and the prevention of hate speech or disinformation, a theme we touched upon in our post-truth video. While we value the freedom to express our views, what happens when that freedom is used to incite violence, spread harmful falsehoods, or undermine democratic processes? Where does the line get drawn, and who draws it? Similarly, the right to privacy, a cherished aspect of individual liberty, faces constant erosion in the digital age. Our data is collected, analyzed, and used by corporations and governments in ways we often don't understand or consent to. How free are we if our every move, every preference, every thought is being observed and predicted? The private sphere that philosophers once considered sacrosanct is rapidly diminishing. This isn't just about external threats. It's about the very nature of our existence within this web. As Rousseau and Levinas suggested, our very being is deeply intertwined with the face of the other. Our responsibility to others is not an afterthought. It's fundamental to what it means to be human. In an interconnected world, this ethical imperative becomes even more pronounced. My freedom cannot truly flourish if it comes at the direct expense or harm of another. This brings us to the core of the freedom paradox. The more freedom we gain in communication, travel, access to information, the more potential we have to impact others, and thus the greater our responsibility becomes. Think about the concept of negative freedom versus positive freedom. Negative freedom from is the absence of external obstacles, interference, or coercion. This is what Mill emphasized: freedom from government overreach. Positive freedom to is the capacity to act upon one's free will, to realize one's full potential, to have access to the resources and opportunities necessary for self-realization. This often implies a role for society or government in ensuring these capacities. In an interconnected world, achieving true positive freedom for all often requires some collective regulation or limitation of negative freedoms for certain individuals or groups. For example, my freedom to pollute the air might limit your freedom to breathe clean air. My freedom to spread misinformation might limit the community's freedom to make informed decisions. This tension is not new. Political philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau explored the idea of the general will, a collective good that individual wills must sometimes yield to for the benefit of all. He argued that true freedom isn't simply doing whatever you want, but living under laws that you, as part of a collective, have given to yourself. The paradox deepens when we consider the concept of freedom from consequence in the digital age. It often feels as though some individuals or groups operate with a degree of anonymity or impunity, exercising their freedom to harass, spread hate, or deceive without facing proportionate real-world consequences. This undermines the very fabric of trust and mutual respect essential for a free society. So, how do we redraw these lines of liberty in a way that respects individual autonomy while fostering collective well-being? This requires robust ethical frameworks and a renewed commitment to civic virtue. 1. Empathy and perspective-taking. Before exercising our freedom, we must consider the impact on others. This requires actively cultivating empathy, trying to understand the world from another person's shoes. As Adam Smith, often misunderstood as purely capitalist, emphasized in his theory of moral sentiments, our moral judgments are often guided by our ability to sympathize with others. 2. Digital citizenship and media literacy. Just as we learn civic duties in the physical world, we need to learn digital citizenship. This includes understanding the impact of our online speech. Being responsible consumers of information, as discussed in the post-truth video, and recognizing the collective harm that can arise from individual digital actions. 3. Ethical AI and governance. As AI and technology play an ever larger role, we need strong ethical guidelines and robust governance frameworks. This means deciding collectively what limits we place on data collection, algorithmic biases, and autonomous systems to protect individual freedoms while harnessing technology's benefits. 4. Reciprocal responsibility. Liberty cannot exist in a vacuum. It thrives when individuals recognize a reciprocal responsibility. My freedom is linked to my responsibility to respect and protect the freedom of others. This is a Kantian idea, where universal moral principles guide our actions, recognizing the inherent dignity of all individuals. 5. Cultivating deliberation and dialogue. In a fragmented world, we need to intentionally create spaces for genuine deliberation and dialogue, where diverse viewpoints can be heard and debated respectfully, not to dominate, but to understand and find common ground. This is vital for collectively redrawing the lines of liberty. The freedom paradox is a testament to the evolving nature of human society and the timeless questions of philosophy. Liberty is not a static concept, but a dynamic balance that must be continually negotiated and redefined in light of new technologies, new challenges, and a deeper understanding of our interconnectedness. The epical mind recognizes that true freedom is not merely the absence of constraint, but the capacity to choose responsibly, to act ethically, and to contribute positively to the flourishing of both the self and the community. It's about empowering individuals while recognizing our profound ties to one another. As you consider your own freedoms in this interconnected world, where do you feel your freedom is challenged, and why? What responsibilities do you believe accompany your unique freedoms? How can your individual choices contribute to a more just and free society for all? The journey to understand and enact true freedom is an ongoing dialogue, a continuous redrawing of lines, not just on maps, but within our hearts and minds. It is a profound exploration of what it means to be both an autonomous individual and an integral part of the human tapestry.